Good morning. Welcome to Words with Elana and M. Today we're going to do the power of the word but. And as we go on, you'll understand what we mean a little bit more. And I think it seems like people are enjoying the show. So I think we're going to try to keep it around Friday 11-ish. So you guys can find us. But if something changes, then M made us this beautiful background using one of my favorite games, Scrabble. And she also made us a beautiful promotional photo. So we will make sure to keep everyone informed. And again, if anybody has any ideas for words or wants to be a guest, please let us know. This is a show that, you know, relies heavily on participation. And we love participation. So if you want to join us, let us know. Are you ready?
Hey! Hi, everybody. Hi,
Good
Elana.
morning.
Yes, if anybody wants to join us, just message and or put it in the comments and I will send you the link. Come
And
join
as we
us.
said last show, this is kind of an informal workshop show. We're learning how to do different things. And so, you know, don't feel like you're going to come on. There's a massive amount of pressure. Like, we just want
No.
to have fun, talk about different words, and, you know, if something goes awry, then we're down with
We
whatever
just wing it.
happens.
We're pretty
So
laid
if you
back
want
over
to
here.
wing it with us,
Come
come
on.
on.
Let's talk about words. Do we have
So,
any fellow word nerds?
I'm actually going to have, well, first I want to thank you for this amazing background.
I
I
love it.
love Scrabble, and I love all the Scrabble related art that you did for the show. And I think I just changed the name a little to Words with Elana and M. So I hope that's okay with you.
I put it in the description this time so you didn't yell at me.
Oh, that's where I got it from.
I
Okay.
don't want any
Because I was like,
confrontation. No, I'm just kidding.
what?
I said I don't
Oh,
want any
man.
later. Later,
I'm
girl.
so bummed. Okay, good. Okay. Do you feel comfortable getting started? Why don't we? Why
So
don't
the
we?
word we're going to talk about today is the word but. And not the butt like, the nice good butt that everybody has, B-U-T-T, but the conjunction that we often put after something we say and make somebody feel like shit about what we just said. I mean, basically, if you
Yeah.
say something positive and then you say but or yet or however, but is the big one, then basically it eradicates everything that came before it. And
Or after it, depending
I'm
on
after
how
it. That's what I meant. After
it's
it.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yes, you are correct. Sorry. We are both working on no sleep, so bear with us.
Yeah, we're having a little bit of a rough day, but we
Zero sleep over here.
so sometimes it comes before the butt and sometimes it comes after the butt,
All about the butt.
but
But
changes the
so you're at
word.
work and your boss says to you, "You're doing a really great job, but
But
like, gee, you're like, yes, I'm gonna get a promotion. Fuck, I'm getting in trouble.
uh,
I'm about to get in trouble. Damn it, Ruby,
no.
come join us.
Come join us, Ruby.
I sent you the link. Oh, beautiful. Come join us.
I
Somebody
hate
join us.
but yeah, that's what she said. So
Yes, it's
you
like
want to give
and my biggest one is if I'm at the doctor's and they're like,
oh my
"You're
god.
doing really good, your counts are really good. Um, your your labs are good, your blood pressure's good, everything's really good. And you're like,
But
hallelujah, hallelujah. And then they're like, but, and I'm like, just say what you're gonna say, because I'm like you. I want to be direct. So I'm like,
yeah.
don't do that. Don't beat around the bush, right? Just say it.
And
Say
in
it.
that case, you know that the butt's coming. Like when I went to the doctor and I was first diagnosed, and I hope that this is not too graphic for anyone, but when I was first, they were first trying to diagnose me. I was diagnosed like after being sick for, we think maybe like 4 years or something, like a long time. So they told me, they're like, well, the liver doctor told me, well, we have this test, but you'll never have to take that test. And basically, the test is like they stick a needle
Torture.
through your stomach, yeah, and you're awake.
Any
And I
test that
don't
comes with a
care.
butt
I don't
is torture.
care. If I'm asleep, you do whatever you want to me, and then I'm good to go. But like when you start doing stuff, and like a lot of these have to check your vitals and whatever, so you have to be awake. And they're like, oh, it's never going to come to that test. Everything's going to be cool. And as soon as I hear that, I'm like, I'm getting that test. I know that that
Yeah,
is my
coming.
test. I'm like, but
Anytime, ma'am.
doesn't work. But does not work.
It's like when I read a prescription or something, or a diagnosis or something, and it's like da 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 da, and then it's like very rare side effects. I'm
Oh,
like, I
that's
just
my
skip the
favorite.
rest and go to the very rare side effects because that's what this body's going to decide to do.
Do
Like,
you have like, so when I'm listening to the commercials for pharmaceutical commercials, they they make it like this whole like quiet, but it's like, don't pay attention to this.
yes, Gregory.
Watch these people having the best life ever. And on our meds, you can have this best life ever. And like some people apparently,
But
I did right, and I didn't know this because I thought like I can hear every single, like watching the TV, I don't have to try to hear. I hear every single side effect. So I said to my husband, I was like, "Do you hear all this?" He's like, "No, I
it
just
goes so
kind of
fast.
watch the people like having fun and whatever." And he half pays attention, but to me, it's like as soon as
I
the
like this
fine
comment.
print, the butt comes up, it's like I that's gonna be me, and I'm gonna be screwed. So,
Right. It's that big butt, and not a good big
yeah,
butt. I mean, we like good big butts, right? Like the song says, "I like big butts," not as a
yeah,
conjunction. I
not
like
big.
Gregory's comment. He said, "However, is the fancy butt."
That is very
It's
true. That
true.
is when I'm writing a letter, then we put however. So the other thing that we talked about too, um, and I think that you can phrase this better than I can, is when people say
Gregory.
something like,
Gregory, come on here. Join us. Let's talk about the word butt. If anybody wants to
yes,
come on,
seriously,
just tell
anybody
us. We
wants
will
to come
send you the
on,
link.
please
I
come on,
forgot
join
today,
us.
but in future episodes, we're going to put the link in the description if M remembers to do it.
Oh, yeah, because last time we had these
Yeah.
incredible comments, and it was just really hard to
Hi,
focus and
Mary.
do both. So if people come on and wanna share something, like, you don't have to be on for the whole however long Em and I decide
Yeah,
to talk.
tell us what your
You
worst what's the worst
can
thing that was
come
ever
and
said to
go.
you? Like something really great and then somebody said but. Like what's
So
the
what
worst thing?
was
Let us know.
so what was, you had said something really when we were talking about this, and I can't figure out how to I would, but I'm supposed to be working. Perfect, perfect use of the word.
See?
I would, yay, but I'm working. So I'm having problems fitting this together. It's like, what do they say?
Last night all I could think of was that song from the I guess I don't want to I'm dating myself. You know that song like conjunction junction, what's
Oh,
your function?
yes.
That's all I
Oh,
could
the
think of.
Schoolhouse Rocks. Those are so good.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm having difficulty like putting it, but you had said something about like how somebody will say something really, really great with some negative overtones, and then they'll say but, and it's like meant to erase what they had
Yeah, to
just said.
eradicate
Oh,
everything.
don't be insulted, but like that's another big
That's a
one,
big one.
right?
Or they'll
It's,
come to you and they'll be like, "I gotta tell you something, but," or "I really like
mhm.
you, but," it's like
Yeah,
I guess it's like for some people, I'm sure that they there's all different people and we all hear things different ways and it all goes back again to like our history and how the word was used around us and how it was perceived and what have you. But like for me, I'm like, why did you just say the damn thing what you want to say?
yeah.
Like don't beat around the bush because I immediately am like everything you're about to tell me, you know?
I'm on high alert now.
I'm not even
Yeah.
listening. Like I'm listening, but I'm thinking, why? Like just say it,
Right. It's
right?
like I like you, but suddenly it's like you don't like me.
Or you're
Why?
about to insult
What's
me,
coming next?
or you're because what happens is maybe they have a valid fact that they need to share with you, right? It could be
Mhm.
very valid, but I'm no longer like I'm thinking
Right.
you already lied to me with
Yeah.
everything you just said before the word but. But then I'm
Well,
sure there's other people that only hear the good, right? Like I bet you like a
yeah.
narcissist is like, oh yeah, she likes
That
me. Like if a girl's like,
right.
oh, I like you, but you're kind of overbearing and I never want to see you
Right.
again.
But you're kind of a stalker, so can you go away?
And the guy,
Ooh,
if it's a
you like
narcissist, and
me.
vice versa,
Yeah.
women can do the same thing. And then you're like,
Ooh, this girl likes me.
yeah, my uncle was like that. Didn't matter what you said. It was like you were. He took it as a compliment. Didn't matter what you said. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah," you know.
Yeah, like the other is like don't be offended, but like I'm really hard to offend, but I'm thinking
Yes, Gregory. So
you're
we
gonna
need
offend me
Gregory on
now.
here. Greg, we got to do one. There's a
Selective
pop up.
hearing.
Let us know when you can do one. Hey, Christy,
Absolutely. Hi, Christy.
Cynthia.
It's nice to see everyone. Ruby, thanks for tagging everyone. Hi, Mary.
Yes.
Hi,
Um,
anybody that we missed.
so yeah, I mean, people perceive it different. And I'm sure there's people who don't even hear the good part, right? And like we just erase it because
Mhm.
we're like in our mind, you just took the pencil, it's gone, we're done. I don't even know if I'm going to trust what you're about to tell me.
Right. And I actually start thinking if somebody says, I don't want to offend you, but I'm thinking, wow, I'm really hard to offend. What could they possibly say? So like if whatever they say for me is just gonna be like, why do we have to
when
even start with
whenever
that?
this is another good one. Whenever in your life has somebody said to you, I don't want you to get upset, but
Oh, that one's
you
hard.
know that something major is about to be dropped on you. Like, I
Hmm.
don't want you to get upset, but Aunt Sally died this morning. Like,
Yeah,
what the
yeah. Instant.
Yes, Gregory, we will. We'll message you. Have a good day at
Oh,
work.
awesome. Yeah, have a good day, Greg.
um,
Um, the other thing though, so like, but also can be something that is important
absolutely.
and necessary. Um, like I'm a lawyer, and so a lot of times I need a disclaimer. I need to say so. Like right now, because of my health, I'm not taking clients, so I have to say I'm not taking clients. This is not legal advice in any way. This is friendly advice. But so sometimes I'd say that's
Oh, it has a meaning,
neutral.
has a purpose, right?
Yeah, it has a purpose, it's
And
necessary.
the thing,
I need to make sure people know that.
which
And
actually
so
Mary
sometimes
brought
it's
up,
good.
right? Because you
Oh,
need to give them information. Something Mary just wrote is one of the things we had talked about is the fact that if they start with like if you so if it's a positive, right? Like there's times when you're going to say something negative or positive, but then there is going to be something constructive after, right? But I guess
I'm
it's
already thinking like the world's ending, so whatever
me
you're
too.
gonna
For
say.
me, yeah. I'm like, okay. Just
I miss the
but
compliment. It's like the opposite of the narcissist, you know. It's like
but
worst
then
case
it's
scenario
the
time.
opposite sometimes if you say a negative, a really negative thing first. Like you might say, let me think. Gregory's boss is going to say to him, listen, you've been late for work like 3 times. We really need you to come in on time, but you're such a great worker. Is there some way we can accommodate you?
Yeah, that's
Right?
true.
So it's not always negative.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
just, I think it's the unnecessary words that are said to try to calm you before they say what they really need to say. That's the
right.
ones.
Those are
It's
anti-calming. Not calming at all.
they are. It's like you said about confrontation, and we were talking about if somebody comes to you and they're like, "Oh, I really need to tell you something. Just don't get upset. I don't," you know what I mean? Like we're like
Right.
the person's already in panic mode. If it's somebody who doesn't like confrontation, and if it's somebody like us, we're already like, okay, so I'm really unsure if you're even gonna be honest with me right now. Like,
Right.
or if you're gonna be capable of telling me what you need to say, because maybe emotionally you really don't like confrontation, or we don't
Well,
like the word confrontation, but some people get, nervous and they can't get their
yeah.
words out and they don't know what to say. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and
Not everybody's the
sometimes
same.
it's a helpful disclaimer, like in the case, like in my case, but sometimes it would be like something unnecessary, or like, I can't tell you if I'm going to get angry before you tell me. Like, you're probably telling me don't get angry, but because the expectation is that I'm going to be fuming after I hear what you say. So I already am ready to
Or
be
crying,
angry
or
now.
your life
Yeah.
is about to fall apart. I mean, my husband
Mhm.
comes to me and says, I need to talk to you. First of all, I already know there's something wrong because we're like been married so long that we don't really have like formal conversations very often,
Yeah.
you know? It just ebb and flow, right? It's just natural. So I'm already thinking, damn, here we go, right? But
Did you see
yeah,
what Mary said? That's so funny. I don't mean to startle you, but there's how I would jump so high. I don't know
same.
why. I have a thing about clowns.
Yes, Gregor, we discussed confrontation last week. That was an excellent conversation. We talked about it with comments. Everybody
Yeah.
was talking about it for
Oh,
so long. It went for like 2 hours.
and
It was such a powerful word.
if anybody has something that they want to revisit, in the future, if there's a word that we've already covered that you're interested in revisiting, or you just want to say something about it, please let us know, because I know that if you just find out we're talking about confrontation, or you missed last week and you didn't know we were talking about confrontation, there might be something that you want to say and didn't have the opportunity to. So,
Yeah.
feel free to bring that up. So, when else can but be good?
Alana. I'm sorry to be distracted for a second there. Renee might come join us in a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Renee had some excellent, excellent comments last week. Like Gregory, all you guys have such great comments. Please, if you ever want to come on, just holler. We will bring you on. And if
Yes.
you know any good words that we're such word nerds. Her and I discuss words a lot because she's on the mediation team for Cosmos and she's a lawyer and I'm a word nerd. But um so we're both having to deal with a lot of things behind the scenes and it's one of those things where it's like you have to choose your words, right?
You
I
do.
think sometimes we forget, and maybe not everybody, because I'm very particular. Like I pause a lot because I'm particular about what I'm going to say. If I'm trying to work something out with somebody, right?
Mhm.
So, or really a lot of the time, but we forget kind of what Greg said earlier. He said about confrontation, which had a whole different meaning. But bye, Greg. Have a good day. Love ya.
Mhm.
Um, Gregory said I react too quick sometimes to confrontation, so I clam up till I calm down and then I'll respond reasonably. Or you have the opposite effect, right?
Mhm.
But we forget the impact from the person who said it. No, we're not responsible for how somebody takes something we say. However, we are responsible for what we say. And if our intent, and I'm not talking about like abuse and emotional abuse and verbal abuse, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in a,
Yeah.
normal adult conversation with no abuse, no connotation underneath. Words have impact, right? And
Mhm.
so, just like we said about confrontation, saying the word but, like we just said, and then listening to like Mary and Greg and everybody else's, we all take words differently. And we
Yeah.
definitely take them differently when they're written in a text. And we're going to have this conversation probably about every freaking word we say
Mhm.
that we do on the show, because when you read something, we all read something different into it, right?
Right. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing this show too, is because we actually have had experiences. Like, that's why we opened with confrontation, is because there was something that was going on, and I didn't it became so obvious to me that people take that word as something negative. So um it's yeah, it's important, because also, I mean, let's say that what you were going to say didn't necessarily have a power to make somebody upset, but if you open with "don't get upset," but well, now I'm upset because I.
Or I'm like me, I'm not as invested.
Mhm.
And I'm still listening, right?
Right.
Because like I said, and it depends on the person. If it's somebody that I know really, I talk a lot with my hands. I notice that on every show. I don't want to
Oh
sit
yeah.
on them. So
Well, that's why you can only see my shoulders, and you can still every so often see them pop up.
it's the yeah, it's funny. Um, if it's somebody I know really well and I know that there's some hesitation and that the nerves get the best of them and they do really want to say what they need to say, but they're not the most assertive, or emotions come into play and they get nervous, and I know that they're struggling to say even something that you and I wouldn't care about. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, oh my gosh, always tell me. Like, if I, okay, say something as simple as I did a piece of artwork for somebody,
Mhm.
because I do a lot of branding. So say I just did a logo for somebody, and they're somebody that's maybe a little less confident or not as good at talking to somebody, public speaking, or people they don't know, whatever. And they're like, "Oh, I really like it, but," and you could tell in their voice too that they don't
Yeah.
really like it,
That's.
right? So, because that's what you do, so you're used to it,
Or,
And
I mean, the
I'm
other
like,
thing.
just tell me, it's you're paying for it. Tell me
Right.
what you
And
want,
and
and
that's
even
the
if
thing.
I'm
Like,
doing
once
it,
they say "but,"
yeah, even if I'm doing it for free, it's for them. So obviously, I want them to be happy with it, right?
mhm.
Like, tell me, just tell me. Um,
Right. Yeah, I don't like a lot of disclaimers, and again, sometimes they're necessary.
oh, Mary, jeez, have mercy.
Oh, please don't get upset, but I made a huge financial. Wow, yeah, that's dropping a bomb. That it doesn't matter what comes after that.
Yeah. Wow.
That's
Yeah,
the end. That's the
that would
conversation. That's
be
everybody's upset now.
that would be a let's sit our asses down conversation. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. It's true. You say this big thing. And the other thing is, maybe what they're going to say after it, you know, like I made this big financial decision is true. And they need to tell you that, right? They did it without you. They know it wasn't cool, right? And so now they're going to try to rationalize it with their butt,
That's a
you
good
know?
point too. Hmm.
So it's also used deliberately. It's not always somebody who's not confident. It's somebody who's, I screwed up, but I'm not going to own it. I'm going to sort of own it by telling you, but it's either going to be your fault, like, but I can't always tell you things. Who hasn't heard that?
Right.
Can't
Oh yeah,
always
because
tell,
you're difficult
but
to talk to.
I
Yeah.
can't always tell you things. But I don't want to mess up your, I don't know. You're always busy, Oh, you hear
Hmm.
that too. People use the word but very strategically to cover their own asses, or in the case on the other far end of it, somebody who's abusive, as we touched a little bit on earlier, is going to use it to gaslight you.
Yes, it definitely
Oh,
can be used as a
yes, yes, I
controlling
cheated, but
mechanism.
you're never around. You don't take care of me. You don't, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's your fault. They did something and it's your fault. So, yeah, that's a big one.
Hmm.
That's a big
And
one.
again, like when we say but, I mean, but however, any of those
Yeah.
that kind of change the mood and tone of what they're going to say.
Yes, Mary. Yes. Putting
Wh-
that up there. She's saying mind fuckery. She wrote effery, but I'm saying it. I'm just saying it. Um, yeah. So, yeah.
so Christy's also saying something. I think, I don't know if you were here last week, Christy, but
Ruby, you
the
don't have to be on
always,
camera if you don't want to, but you have something to say. Definitely come in. Don't ever.
but
You're
at
always
least I
welcome.
can watch instead of just listen. Yeah, so I think
Whose were you doing? I'm sorry. Let me put her
Christy,
comment
so
up there.
Christy said, I was blessed that me and my husband, we stayed on the same page. I think that but has, but can make things that are not fuzzy, I guess, fuzzy. So I think that when you're
Y-
trying to stay on the same page as somebody, I mean, Christy, please write in the comments or join us or whatever if I'm wrong. But I think that staying on the same page as someone, it's hard to do that if you're using a lot of, you know, blah blah blah, but whatever. Like you have to be more direct. Um,
I think from reading one of her earlier comments, and again, always tell us if we're wrong. We have no problem with that.
please do. Yeah, let
We
us
like to
know.
talk about that. She was saying similar to what I was saying, how her marriage just kind of it's just works, right? Like their
Right.
conversations and everything is just flows now. They made their
Hmm.
mistakes or he made his mistakes before, it sounds like, and they just work. Like I don't
We didn't really use buts. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So that right. Because I know that, yeah, it kind of is. It's a
Mary, I
word
want
that can often mislead, even if it's not intentional. I mean, I think like you were saying, about people being maybe hesitant because they aren't as confident about what they're going to say, and they think that that could help. I believe that, but can almost never help. It
yeah.
usually is going to make conversation or confrontation, it starts entering like your imagination, and you start thinking, at least for what Em and I were saying, like you start thinking about worst case scenario. Like if Mark were to come to me and be like, I love you, my husband were to come to me and be like, I love you, but I'd be like, oh my God,
Yeah, like,
what is,
why did you say that? I mean,
what
we're
horrible
all
thing are you
guilty.
gonna say? I mean, yeah, I know
None
my
of us are
husband's not,
perfect.
I
And
know my
this
husband
is
is not going to be like, we're getting divorced or anything, but still, like that butt,
that's a
I don't
good one,
know.
right? When you see people
He's
break
sick.
up and they're like,
He's something,
when people break up and they're like, "Oh, I really love you. You know, it's you're such a joy. You're a
but
great
it's
person,
me, not
but
you. But it's me, not you.
I'm
Oh,
leaving you."
yeah.
Gee, thanks.
That seems like
Ouch.
it's also kind of a butt to me. Like
Oh, I'm
the
sorry to hear that,
it's
Christy.
me, not you. You know, it also
Yeah, it's
kind of
me, not
seems
you.
like lots of words that construct a butt.
And the other thing about us that
Oh,
people
I'm so
that don't
sorry,
know us,
Christy.
yes. The other thing people will that don't know us will learn is you and I are very direct. So
Hmm.
even though we can talk about a subject forever, in a real conversation where we need to resolve or tell somebody something or what have you, we like as few words as possible.
Sandy
And that
just
doesn't
said,
mean we won't have a whole conversation and chitter chatter and vent about 9 million other things. It
"Oh
just means if
yeah."
you have something important that we need to know, just tell us. Like we just
Hmm.
said, if you don't agree, tell us. You don't have to beat around the bush. We
Absolutely.
could care less. We will
I
talk
think
about it till
Sandy's is funny. I know you just brush your teeth, but like, here's a tray of Oreos. You know, like,
I know you brushed your
what?
teeth, but you really need some breath mints.
That's, it's funny because so in my house we have milkshake time. We do everything in times because we
Oh,
have a cockapoo, and she's like, um, she's like our daughter, and she is super smart and understands a lot, but she's really like she gets kind of stuck in whatever she's doing. So we have to oh no, what was I just, oh, the times. So we have
times.
like milkshake time, or we have like
Good morning, Bridget.
bedtime. Everything is a time. So that's you know, like my husband will tell me, you have to come downstairs, and I do laps around the first floor for exercise. He's like, but I'll be making a milkshake while
Yeah, so
you're
that's a good one
doing
though, right?
that. So yeah, because he knows, like when I was growing up, whenever we had to do something that was, go to the doctor or something we were like nervous
Get your
about, my mom would
shot, what
always
have
get us
you.
ice cream. So we'd always go out for ice cream. So that was like one of the first things I told him, is that you always, but like you don't have to say the but, just take me to go get the ice cream.
Right. Skip that.
Yeah,
Get something.
the butt comes in when I
It's
am
like word
like,
foreplay.
I am so, I know it's time to go get ice cream. I just had a blood test, but I don't feel well. And like the butt is like the worst thing that ever happened in my mind. So
I seriously, it's like
that's the level of
it's
what butt means to me, is it means no ice cream. Like,
damn it.
hi
Bridget, if you ever
Bridget.
want to come on and talk words with us, let us know. Or even now, if you want to come on and talk words with us, let us know. Um, yeah, so that was what I was saying is for what you were just saying. It's like word foreplay, but bad foreplay, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's just move on from here, please. Like, Bridget,
Yeah.
good morning. Come talk with us. Anytime I can send you the link, or Alana can, or we can schedule a day. Or if you
Yeah.
have a word, let us know.
I
I know.
didn't I know you didn't want to have more
There you
kids.
go, Sandy. Yeah, like
Yeah, or in my case, my husband said to me, "Yeah, I know I told your parents that we would probably have kids, but I'll be working, so that'll be like your primary responsibility." And I'm like, I don't. want to have kids. So that was a very, very
You're like, I'm good.
big but that, sealed the deal on the not having kids. So sometimes I guess it's important to pay attention, but yeah, like kind of go into disaster mode when you hear but.
I just
Surprise.
immediately think to myself, if it's somebody, and it depends on the person, right? I mean, which every word does, because if I'm in a conversation with
Yeah.
somebody I know and I know them well, and I
Mhm.
know that they struggle with trying to resolve something, like they don't want to bring the bad news, right? Then I'm going to be a little more patient
Yeah.
because I know this person. But if it's somebody I don't know, or somebody who's normally very outspoken, or I don't want drama or whatever type, that things type of thing. And they come to me and they're like, I don't, I really need to talk to you. And I don't want to upset you. But, well, now I'm thinking to myself, you're about to tell me a crap load of lies or inaccuracies, or like in my mind, I'm thinking, why you already just told me something that's not true, right?
Yeah. Or like
Like,
why the setup? Like that's the thing
yeah,
too.
like
Is
a
it's
setup.
like like
And
why do
again, it
we
depends on the situation. I
yeah.
mean, not everybody, don't
I
think if
mean
you
and
say that, that means you're a bad person. It just,
no. And again, sometimes it's necessary. I mean, I hate having to be like I am not taking clients, so I blah blah blah, but it's a necessary thing that needs to be done. So
right.
people that talk to me, they know that and they know that I'm not just saying but. I think like you were saying earlier, some people don't I'm not sure why, but some people don't think about what that sounds like. That the sentence I don't know. I wonder, do you think you can cut out that part of most sentences? I would think for the most part you could, right? They don't get
Well,
upset, but,
it's how you say
or
it,
whatever.
right? Like, if I'm going to come to somebody and I need to tell them some constructive criticism, but I know it's somebody who is going to get upset, then what's the
Mhm.
point of saying don't get upset? But you could say, my point of this conversation is not to upset you. I do need to tell you something that
Right.
I need you to
That's
work on,
that's
right?
true.
Like, I don't need to say, don't get upset, because they're going to get upset because
Once they
that's who
hear
they
"don't get
are.
upset," that's how they get upset. Like,
Right.
like
Like, they're already like
you could
panicking.
have
They're
said
already like,
anything afterwards. You could have said the most upsetting thing, and that person is already so
or you could just
upset.
say something great and constructive, but they're not going to take it constructive now because they're
Right.
upset and in panic and flight and, fight or flight mode. They're like, get me out of here. I don't even want to be in
And
this situation.
I guess that's
It
also kind of
automatically puts somebody in the hot seat.
yes, and that's kind of what we were saying about confrontation too. Is like don't build up to it, don't lead up to it. You know, what is your goal? I guess that's probably with anything that has the but, what is your goal? And does the goal of your communication include that? Is it necessary? Can you just say what it was that you were going to say without the but? Because if you can, it's probably best that you do.
I think let's talk about in professional settings,
Okay.
right? Because that's a totally different thing. And maybe some of like our point of view is, I've walked into boardrooms full of, I've been in boardrooms where I'm the only woman. I worked at
Right.
the fire station where I was the only woman.
Yeah.
And it's not and I'm not making it a sexist thing. I'm just setting the scene for you, right? So that you can understand the level of confidence in what you're about to say you need to have, right? To do that.
Right.
From walking in a courtroom, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you walk up to me in a professional setting, if I'm in charge or I'm at that table and you go to say something and you're like, I have this really, I really need to talk about Bob. He's such a nice guy, but in my mind, I'm thinking something's not right, right? She needs to say something that she's probably not going to
Yeah.
say here, or him or her or whoever it is, right? Or I'm thinking, why are we playing games?
Yeah.
We're grown adults. Have some confidence in this situation because you're a leader in that position. You earned it. It's yours. Say
Mhm.
what you need to say. Don't be afraid to say what you got to say. I don't care who's sitting in front of you. I don't care if it's the president of the United States, right? Like, just say
Yeah.
it. In a professional
Mhm.
setting, it's like, what's that book we all had to read in high school? Um, Dale Carnegie. What was that book? Oh, Win
Oh,
Friends, Influence People, right?
influence people. Yeah.
Use your words, be direct, be confident. It's difficult for me to promote somebody who doesn't speak confidently, right? And they're a hard worker, and I'm thinking, I
Yeah.
really want to make them a leader. They should be a boss. That man or that woman works so hard. I want them to be a boss, but they're never going to be able to emotionally handle the bullshit that's about to come at them if I put them in that position. And I can't do that, right? How do you do
Right.
that to somebody? It's just
Right.
plain cruel.
It reflects on you, and it also kind of sets somebody up for failure.
Exactly.
So,
And I mean, I'm going to try. I'm going to talk to the person. I'm going to be like, what about if we tried taking some courses? Would you like to work with somebody who's a good speaker? Do you want to work with me? How about if we give you a few small things to do to see how it goes and how you feel? And in that case, that's a sucky but. Like, I really want to make you a leader, but I mean, that
or maybe it's a
sucks.
great one
Or it's a great one if they step up and can
because
do it,
I
right?
want to make you a leader, but
We got to work there. Gotta-
and then the next thing is, okay, what do we do to get this first part done? So it's almost explaining the part that preceded the but. So I think that sometimes I guess it's, yeah, it's necessary sometimes. I think in a professional setting, though, I mean, it also just
Hi,
takes
Dennis. That's
time.
Dennis. Facebook user is Dennis Difflemary.
Oh,
Dennis, you want to
hi,
come talk words?
Dennis.
Come talk words with me and Alana.
Anybody that wants to join us.
Yeah, so I mean, I think in
We
different
love you,
settings,
Dennis. We hope you're doing well today.
I
Um,
think in different settings, it's not a good thing to use. It's not a good
yeah,
thing
from
if
a
it's being
professional
used.
standpoint, it's really important. Word efficiency is really important. I think that that's something to
Clarity.
consider.
And for me, if you
Clarity
say
and
but,
word efficiency.
what did you say? Or it makes it fuzzy. So clarity's gone if you say but,
Right.
right? After the
Clarity is
sentence.
gone. Directness is gone. It already took you, you
Yes,
know,
Cynthia, we were going to,
two
yes.
sentences to say what should have taken you one sentence to say. Um, I know though I don't really do it now except for in certain situations where it's necessary. I know that when I was younger, I would do it quite a bit because it's difficult just getting up and saying whatever it is that you want to
You don't
say.
want to hurt somebody's feelings, I think it comes down to. So
You
it's
don't
a
want to hurt
learned
someone's
skill.
feelings. You also, when you're first starting, whatever it is, you're first embarking on your career or, whatever it is that you are going to be doing. Um, oh my God.
Well, and think about it, Alana.
This is what
Girls aren't
happens is
supposed to
like
be.
thought just
It
leaves.
disappeared you. Well, I think when you're young, you're learning. We're
Right.
all learning,
That's
right?
that's what I was saying.
we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. So
Mhm.
we're learning those social skills and and emotional skills.
Right, you're feeling out how people respond, so when you're
Right.
first entering whatever you're entering, like for me, I was a teacher, writer, and an editor, and then I was a
Hi,
lawyer.
Brenda.
And when you do everything as a lawyer, it's a whole different world. So everything that preceded that for me, like I never walked into an interview where I wasn't handed the job immediately. And then when you're a lawyer, that just doesn't happen. Like they don't make
Right.
anything easy for
Right.
you. You're
It's
never
like
walking
going,
into a room and nobody's just giving you a job. Like even if they gave it to you in their mind, they make you sit and wait for a little while.
it's like
So,
when I went from working at the hospital to working to teaching. Those
mhm,
kids don't care what I
yeah,
they're not worried about my feelings.
right. And that's a good thing
High
too.
school kids don't care.
And they just want the data. Like just tell them what
Yeah.
the information is.
And what do I need to do? It's true. They do. And but I think again, like you said, we learn that and we move on and we keep learning it. Cynthia said something good, which is one of the things we had marked down to talk about is what words do we use instead or how do we say it instead? And we touched a little bit on it, but Cynthia said, I like to replace but with and. Right, because that's basically what you're saying. Or
I
not,
think
right? Like it
And I
depends on the
think that that's a good
situation.
test, actually. If you can replace the but with an and both halves of that conjunctive sentence make sense, then it's important to have them. But if you replace the and or but with an and suddenly you don't need half the sentence, I like
You don't
that.
need
Like, I
half the
think that that's
sentence.
a really good tool. I would have really benefited from, thinking about that when I was like 16, 17, 18, because that is a
Right,
really good test of if you have to say whatever it is. I
right.
mean, like a sentence is not don't get upset, but don't get upset and okay, I don't need the don't get
I
upset
don't
part.
need it. Yeah, you can just
Yeah.
take it out. Yeah, that's a good point. It is. Good job. Good. Way to go, Cynthia. Come join us. Message
Yeah.
us if you ever want to come on.
This is
Um,
this is actually the best part for us of the show
yes, the
is
interaction.
how many wonderful comments we get, and that's why we're encouraging people to come
I think
onto the
the
show.
other I think something else to think about, we talked about impact, is some people, when somebody comes to talk to me in a professional setting, in a personal setting, in a mediation setting, in a leadership, whatever they come to me for,
Mhm,
unless they say to me, I just want to vent, I don't have a lot of emotion.
mhm.
I don't take emotion from their words because I process their words first, which is a learned skill. That is definitely a learned
Yeah,
skill. I listen first, I process, and then I speak, right? Because what do I always saying? Facts and then react.
right.
Facts and then react. And I will say that in my head if I feel myself starting to be like, listen, facts and then react, right? Because
Mhm.
I don't, but if somebody is reactionary, they're going to hardly hear what you're about to say once you say
Right.
those first words because like we
Oh
said
yeah.
their heart's beating, they're getting anxious, their anxiety, the negative thoughts in their head, the what ifs, like they're you've already lost them
Yeah,
emotionally.
so
They're,
so
they're
the end of
distracted.
my story about going to the doctor and hearing about that test and knowing that like this test is coming, I actually, and this is like not not me normally. I actually left the appointment. I went to the appointment by myself. I left the appointment. I just started crying hysterically in the middle of like the doctor's office. And I called my husband and I'm like, can you please come here? He's like, what's going on? I'm like, I decided to go to the doctor by myself and it was a
Yeah.
horrible decision.
That was my first mistake.
Yeah, because you can't like you're in such an emotionally vulnerable position anyway, and if somebody comes to you and you're in an emotionally vulnerable situation and uses but whatever this bad thing, like that is, so I guess it also depends on the day, what kind of day you're having, what that means to you. I mean, if I imagine if somebody is always like hearing.
So let's talk about that a little bit because I don't want people to think we're infallible. Yes, it does get emotional. I
Yeah.
have major traumatic, I have a lot of PTSD, right?
Mhm.
So I'm the same way if it's something medical. I am a fierce advocate of myself,
Yeah.
but there are times when I've just had enough and it usually happens when I already know
Yeah.
I'm going to an appointment where I'm going to not get what I want. Like I already know it. I can feel it. You know your body, you know your history, you know your doctors, so it's like
Yeah.
then yes, I'm emotional before I even get there or I'm already shut down. So I
Mm.
need an advocate, right? I need somebody to go with me. I need to record it. And I've had doctors tell me I can't record it. Leave the room, people. Leave the
Oh,
room. You
absolutely.
absolutely can record the conversation. So,
Yes. And if you don't feel comfortable recording the conversation, like you just
that's
say
fine.
that you need time to process it, like any doctor, like it's such a difficult thing when you're talking about illnesses because you're
Well,
not
but
yourself.
the buts are life or death in
Right.
some cases.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, my doctor
I mean,
asked me basically like, can we try to not, so when I was first sick, I we thought I was going to need to have a double transplant, and there, can we try to not have a double transplant but see how things go? Like that's the most terrifying thing in the whole wide world.
yeah.
I don't ever believe
However,
that sentence, you
going
know?
back to our but, replace it with and in that sentence. It makes perfect sense.
It so like that's my
Do you
current
need
liver
a double
doctor.
transplant? You
I
need a double
love him.
transplant,
He's
and I think
very
we can wait.
direct. And when he says things like that, I trust him and I trust his judgment. And
Yeah.
he's not like my other, my past liver doctor that's like, well, we're going to take a giant needle and do all this stuff. But
Yeah.
don't worry about
Yeah.
that. Like, don't worry about that.
It'll
I've
be
already
okay.
worried about that like
You can get a
my
milkshake
whole
after.
life. We'll get a milkshake after. I don't even like. I don't even think. I think that might have been one of the few appointments that I skipped the milkshake after.
Happens a lot, right? Dennis said, oh shoot, hold on. I have to take it off. Can you read it?
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
I like using the word well instead of but or and, but it really has to do with the way I say it.
Yes, that's true. That like
Hmm.
I can tell if somebody says to you, "Don't get upset, please." I automatically think they're not confident. I may not panic because I can hear how they're saying it. I can tell they're timid, right?
I think they're
It,
scared of me,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, sometimes that's what I think. I'm like, I'm direct, but I'm not mean.
Right. And then it's like, whatever you're going to tell me afterwards, like, I'm too busy thinking about why you're scared of me.
Right? Um, but definitely the sound, the tone of what how somebody says something.
Hmm.
That's a whole other conversation. The tone in which something is said.
Definitely.
But
And that's one of the other things that,
which goes
that
back
we
to
discuss a
texting.
lot. That's what I was going to say is like when you just see text on a screen, and I think it might also have to do with generational, what generation that you're in, because
What,
for
generational trauma or it
us, well, I mean, in the sense that we only use the current technology for a certain portion of our lives. So
right.
we, I guess, have different expectations for it than people who have always had that accessible to them. I
Like
know
Linda
that
Rose, who
happens to
told me
me a
that we're
lot.
old because we use
We're
proper she said, "You're old because you use proper grammar and punctuation in your texts." Oops, sorry.
I I I used to do that and I had to
I
stop. Like I get too formal sometimes and I tell people, I'm like, if I
wasn't
turn
trained enough.
into a lawyer while I'm talking to you and
It's
we're
like
not talking,
ingrained.
just stop me and tell me. Like, don't, no bus, no whatever. Just be, now I'm talking to a lawyer and that was not what I thought I was in for. So,
Right?
yeah, I know, because I know that that happens. It can also be a defense mechanism, like, but can also be a defense mechanism.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When we were younger though, if you grammatically made an error in writing, you had to fix it, right? Like it's
Mhm.
like
Well, and that's what I mean. Like,
there was no autocorrect.
we're not used to. I mean, and it's been for a long time, but still, when you look at the arc of how long you've been alive and what you've been through, we haven't read words on a screen for long enough that it takes away our experience with being in a place with a person, being able to read body language, being able to pick up
Exactly.
on other cues that would make something like putting the word but in there not like a bomb that's about to go off. That's like,
That's
I
good.
guess
That's
that's what
good
I'm
right
waiting
there.
for.
Or making it fuzzy, right? Like all of a sudden,
Yeah.
and yeah, no, whatever.
Yeah, or like for me also, I was trained in worst case scenario. I mean, that's what being a lawyer is, but
Right.
that's also I think a Jewish thing too, is you're always thinking about what could be bad. You have a plan. You're fine. If you have a plan for what happens if everything goes horribly wrong, then you don't have to worry about it as much. So I think that I don't know. Like I'm
No,
struggling
it
with
makes
this a
sense what
little.
you said. I mean, it makes sense because so my dad was a Vietnam veteran.
Mhm.
So we were in avoidance or fight or flight, right? Like everything we were taught was to
Yes.
be prepared, back to the wall. Like even sitting here now, I'm not comfortable if I'm not back to the wall, right? Like, you know,
Yeah,
know your exits.
absolutely.
I get on a plane even and I'm like, where's my exit? Like, what the hell am I
I
gonna
always
do?
try to
Step
sit
off
in
the
an
plane?
exit row, even. I know. And they're like, you're going to have to help people out. And I'm like, I don't
So
care
it's
what I have to
learned behavior.
do. Yeah.
It's learned. And there's some things as adults that even though if we stop and think about it, like talking about the plane, Renee, come join us.
Come,
Come on.
Renee.
Um,
I know the
even
Scrabble background's awesome.
isn't it
Em did a
great?
beautiful job.
Look, let me show you. Let me show you. Hold on. Let me take us off real quick, and then we'll talk about the fight or flight.
Em,
So
did you circulate the I don't know what to call it, like the
promotional, the poster.
yeah, did you circulate
I
that?
just
That
put
was
it. I just put it
awesome too.
on Cosmos, and I put it in the chat. I didn't do a lot with it because I wasn't sure. last night we were both
Mhm.
kind of like not having great nights, so I wanted to make sure we were good to go before.
Yeah,
So
I
we'll,
just want
but
to
in
make
the
sure
future
people
we will
see
get it
it
out.
because I think we're probably going to, continue to
Yes,
use
Renee, we're
it.
talking about butts. Come join us. Maybe we'll switch
Come
to the
talk
other
about
butt for the
butts with
second
us,
part.
girl.
So
That
back to what
poster
I was
was awesome.
saying.
Yeah, see, Renee saw it too. It was
Yeah.
really, and
So
I got to witness where M's signature is.
yes, I show
It's
somebody so
there.
I can say, there it is, Sandy,
It's
there it
there.
is.
I
Um,
like big butts and I cannot lie.
yeah, well, we're talking about the ones we don't like. Get on here, girl. Um,
Yeah. Actually, this is a good one for Renee too, because she has to worry
yes,
about disclaimers as well. And so
yeah,
sometimes, you have no choice but to use but.
exactly, exactly. So going back to what I was saying, so I'm on guard all the time, right? I know my place in the world. I know what I'm doing. I'm aware of everything around me. So even though I'm my age now and I've had all these experiences since then. Like my dad passed away years ago, so it's like I've had all these experiences as an adult away from home. I've had all these experiences since he passed away. And I rationally know as an educated woman,
Mhm.
I hesitate to use the word sane, but the rational part of my brain knows I'm not going to exit off the plane midair, right? But when
Right.
I get on that plane, the first thing I still do is look for the exits. So it definitely affects
Mhm.
how that plays into how we speak, how we perceive spoken word, how it's written, what did the person intend, how do we read it? It could be two totally different things. Like I said, if somebody's already having a panic attack coming to talk to you, then when they say, I don't want to upset you, but it's because really in their mind, they think they're going to upset you no matter what they say
Right.
because they have to tell you something they're uncomfortable telling you. That's totally different than the narcissist that says, I cheated on you, but you don't give me love, right? Like it's
Yeah.
totally different terminology, even though it's the same word, but, right?
Mhm.
Like it
Well, also what you
totally
were
different intent,
saying is that person is not actually trying to calm you. I mean, they probably aren't aware, but they're
right?
trying to calm themselves down. And so sometimes you have to give somebody that
The
leeway.
grace.
So it's important, but and both parts of my sentence will be important. That's something that you hope to overcome as you do
Exactly.
whatever it is that you're doing more.
Exactly.
So,
Like,
um, what was the other thing? There was something else that we had discussed besides. I mean, I guess the thing is also like a comma. You can replace it with and, you can replace it with a comma, you can replace it with whatever, but you definitely have to make sure
I'm just looking
everything
back real
is
quick on the stuff we
equally
talked about.
balanced and both sides are important.
Right. And using the and was really good because who said that again? Cynthia?
Was it Cynthia
Cynthia
Weaver?
or Christy? I can't remember. We'll have to go back and look. But that was a really good test, right? Like, do you need it?
Yeah.
Oh, we got Renee. We got Renee.
Oh, yay.
Yeah,
Hey.
Hi, Renee.
Oh,
it's
I'm
my
kind of
favorite
hidden now.
show. It's my
Wait,
favorite
say,
show. Can you hear me?
I'm just going to,
yeah, you were a
yes.
little choppy, but now I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we're having a lot of snow here, so the Wi
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
yeah, it's
How
crazy.
is it where you are, Alana?
We actually just had a temperature drop, and I was getting
Same
alerts
here.
all night that we were going to have a snowstorm, but we don't have a snowstorm, but it's pretty cold. Like yesterday I went out to get just delivery. I went to go pick up the food. on the front porch, and I was amazed. It was beautiful. It must have been like 60 degrees. And today I had to like bundle up just to stick my hand out of the front door to get the
Yeah, and
what I got
those
delivered.
fluctuations are so annoying. Like it just drives my joints nuts and everything. Like it'll be
Yes.
so hot and then it'll be so cold, and it's just like it's really, really bad, I think, for any human body. But I get migraines too, like anyways, but let's catch me up on this. I could talk about my aches and pains for like, let's talk about the
Yeah,
word.
you
Catch
know
me
what
up.
though? It's something that is this is kind of the first year I'm feeling it because I can feel temperature like I can feel temperature
Yeah,
in real time now, which is something I hadn't been able to do really before. So the weather is cold, but I don't know. I don't have a but.
okay, so tell me about the thing, because I wasn't able to catch like the show. So tell me what, catch me up on the on what we're doing.
Okay. So what we're doing is every today, we'll just start with
No, I
today.
think she means on where we are in the show. On talking about butt.
Okay. Well, I think what did we cover? We covered that sometimes. Oh, I think it was Cynthia said the and is a good test.
Yes, that's a good one.
So sentence part, but sentence part. If you can put and in it, and both sides of the sentence are important, that's a really good test. We were talking about if people say, I don't want to make you upset, but like we're already upset because
Yeah.
that's why are you telling me that? Like that must be really important and I'm about to get really upset, I guess, or you're afraid of me.
That's a big one. When you said that, that's a big one. Like
Or they'll say like, I'm not a racist, but I'm not a
that's
Oh my
that's where we are
god.
kind of now. We're just kind of getting into that. And I did find what you were saying, Alana. The other thing that we talked about that you wanted to hit was how people use it as a free pass to insult you.
Yes.
That was a big one we talked about.
absolutely.
So what Renee just said, I was a trial attorney, and so we'd have to go pick juries.
Hi, Kelly.
And in Pittsburgh, some people might not agree with me, but for me personally, I found a lot of racism and classism in Pittsburgh. And it's kind of not something that is in my face personally, but being a public defender was very obvious. And people would actually say things like, I'm not racist, but that guy's a thug. He's guilty. So I don't think you want me on the jury. They're like, what? Did you just say that? And if they wouldn't have been able to say, I'm not racist, but I don't think they would have said the second part.
Right.
So it's not, it doesn't give you a free pass to just say whatever. You still have to think about it. You still have to have a filter. It's
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes the but reveals that we just projected what we're trying to cover up. I feel like
yeah,
a lot of times whatever precedes but is
We were
what the
talking about
person
that.
is trying to hide about themselves. Like, well, don't think I'm a bitch,
right.
but it's like
Yeah.
they're
Yes,
telling
that's a
you what
good
they feel
point.
about themselves. They're implicating
Oh,
themselves.
people use that all the time.
Yes.
I think I even use that. Like,
Oh,
I don't
I've
want to
done
be a
it. I've
bitch,
fucking
but
done
I'm
it,
going to be a bitch now.
that's
We
how
were
I
I
know
talking
it, because I
did.
catch myself.
Renee, we also talked about the difference. Like, if you're in a professional setting, like walking into a boardroom of, CEOs, you best have confidence and say what you need to say,
Mhm.
right? You're irrelevant if you start with, okay, I need to tell you all something, but forget it. That you're out of there,
Right.
right? Like they're
Yeah,
not
you
even
need to
listening
come
to
in
you. You mean
strong.
nothing.
the
You're like,
but is going to negate however you started it, so you just wasted everybody's time with the initial statement that now you're trying to
Exactly.
negate.
yes,
Like you already you came out the gate swinging in the negative, and now the attention is on the wrong part of what you're trying to highlight. Like, I'm not a racist,
Yes.
but all that we can think of now is that clearly this person is telling us they're a racist, so then we can't hear whatever they're going to say next.
Exactly. Yeah, we were talking about that, and that is so true. So, like, one of the things that we were saying was, don't get upset, but like, I'm already upset. Like,
Yes.
whatever you're going to tell me, because it's hard to make me upset, but when I'm upset, like, you don't want to be anywhere near me. But if you say, I don't want to make you upset, but like, I'm already upset.
or like you said, you're like, this person's afraid of me,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. I
Like, they
mean,
don't want to come and
that
talk to me.
happens to
They're
me
afraid. They're
too.
nervous. Why are they nervous?
I'm like 5'3". I'm like, small. I look very accessible. So if somebody comes up to me, and it would usually be, I guess, in a professional setting, they say, I don't want to make you upset. It's like, well, I'm this tiny little girl. So like, I'm not going to beat you up or something. so,
Right?
so you're going to say something that
And it's
is
funny
going to
because, well, I
make
mean,
me crazy.
it's not funny to the person because it's an emotional response. But
Mm-hmm.
to us, it seems alien, right? That they
Yeah.
even feel that way because it's like, I have never jumped down somebody's throat unless it was personal and it was, I felt I needed to defend myself or somebody else, right? Like, and that is more, and it's definitely a personal thing because in professions, like your profession's different, obviously.
Yeah.
You had to jump down people's throats, right? Like you had to get your point across. And I had to get my point across, but I guess I didn't need the emotional side of it very often. So I could be direct and clear, and I didn't need to go there. So when somebody does act like it's emotional, to me, I'm thinking, I don't know why you're afraid to tell me this. I've never displayed behavior that would make
Mm-hmm.
you feel that way. But then you have to stop and remember they're a person. They come with their entire history when they
Yeah,
step
they have
before you, right?
experience, like they have PTSD from other
Yeah.
things that have happened to them when they
Exactly.
have acted
But you
that way.
also have to know your audience, because, and
Yeah.
my work was different, but at the same time, like, you could go up to a judge or a jury and you're like, I don't want to upset you, but like, go away. Like, nobody wants you to represent them. Like, if you're gonna go do that, like, everybody's gonna be upset. So you kind of have to figure out how to work within the confines, that what you're going to say is, like, it's almost kind of like an easy way out, like, if I'm in court and I'm doing a trial and I'm going to say something, it's always going to upset somebody. So I have
Right.
to do it in such a way. It's almost like it takes the onus off of you to work your sentence in such a way that it comes out sounding how you want it to sound, as opposed to relying on whatever precedes the but to do it. Because in a lot of professions, I mean, not, this is crazy cliche, but time is actually money. So I mean,
Yeah,
you can't
absolutely.
do
Yeah,
that.
same thing in a boardroom. They're not, they don't want to hear it.
It's
You
a
know,
Oh
they're
big
yeah.
like,
waste
I
of
got
time.
stuff to do. Tell me what
Yeah,
you want
it's
to
a
tell
big
me and
waste
let's
of
move on.
time. But my question is, does it ever actually soften a blow? Like, is there a way we could configure a
No.
sentence where we want to soften the blow of bad news? Like, you're a really kind, wonderful person, but I really don't want you to come to my potluck. You know,
Mhm.
I think
what
so. We talked a
does
little
that
bit
help?
about
Is
it.
that better?
We talked a little bit about it earlier, saying that like if
Yeah, right. No, of course not.
say somebody really wants, they're great. They're a dedicated employee. They're, they should definitely be promoted, but yet they don't have these I got to take a break for a second. I'm sorry.
I think she's
I'll
saying
be
qualifications. Like maybe they're lacking some qualification, but they really are a lovely
Mhm.
person, or maybe they just
yes. So
wait.
you want to promote them, but
Right.
emotionally you can't because they're nowhere near going to be able to handle the people coming to them directly with negative information and rudeness and just hatred. People are going to be coming at them. They're a leader now. They need to have that confidence to be able to do what they do, right? Like you can't put them in that position. Like Alana said, you're setting them up for failure. So you might say something to the effect of, "Listen, I want to promote you. You are doing a fantastic job. It's amazing. We need to work on a few things to get you there because I want you to succeed once you're there." Right?
Mhm.
And then talk about things
Right.
you can do. You don't need to say, "I want to promote you, but
Yeah. So you
you're not
still want the
capable."
butt.
Right.
Like
You
it's
And
still
I
want
totally
the
think
butt.
different. Totally different.
I think that
Sorry.
actually saying I want to do something but sounds way more I don't know, threatening or overwhelming than reworking the sentence in a way that doesn't use that says, let's look at these ways in which we can improve your productivity, accuracy, whatever, to promote you. You know,
Right. Yeah. Well, what do you think about? Okay. Well, what do you think about? Because there's different rhetoric
it's a
styles,
way
right?
to deflect. Yes.
Yeah, it is it's definitely a way to deflect, but there's different rhetoric styles, and I don't know which camp you're in, Ilana, but do you like to start if you're trying to persuade someone, like in a courtroom or in a brief or something, you're trying to like persuade somebody. Do you like to first address the evidence against your point of view and then dissuade it, and I mean and then overcome that and then move on, or do you like coming right out the gate and staying right on track and saying only positive things for your point of view? You
I
know,
think you
like if you're
have
going to say
to,
that,
right.
like Biden over Trump, like do you want to say yes, Biden has his problems, Biden's done this wrong, but he's so much better than Trump because of this, or do you want to come right out the gate and be like, look, Biden is amazing, he's great, he's done this? What do you find to be more effective?
See, you are asking me this question because this is something that we struggle with.
Right.
Um, and I would not come right, I would address it. It wouldn't be the very first thing out of my mouth. There would probably be some sort of like calming sentence. And then we would calmly address the negative issues. And then we would say the bad thing. Because I guess the other thing that this brings up is sentence word arrangement. And normally you try to say what you want to be left with your audience last. So I think that this is when somebody says, I don't want to upset you, but like you've already blown the rest of the sentence that I was supposed to have in my head that I was supposed to take away with me. So I I would kind of sandwich it in the middle and make it seem not as big a deal. Because if you don't address it at all, it's coming back to bite you.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what we were taught, and that's what we were taught. It's like a sandwich, like to come out the gate, your
yes,
point of view, then in the middle, kind of almost bury. They use the word bury, which sounds duplicitous, but like to almost bury that negative shit. But at least you're addressing it so that they can't come out and do a gotcha, and then you end
right,
strong with your point of view. Yeah. So
exactly.
I like that sandwich approach as well. How would we use that with a butt, or would we just not have a butt?
Well, I think so. Like for me personally, because of my background, I channel when I talk. So I very rarely stop and filter my sentences or think about what I'm going to say because it just comes out. So, like, I have a general understanding of what I want to say, and then it just comes out how it's supposed to be said. Oh my goodness, I am really, my brain is like,
You're doing awesome. You're doing awesome. I
can
want to
you just
apologize for just a
ask that
second.
question again though? Because I was on a train and I just got derailed.
I just want to apologize because my mom's nurse came in. That's why I had to
Oh,
I couldn't hear what was being said and it was important. So I just wanted to apologize for interrupting. But
oh, no
she was
problem.
asking how to say that without using the word but.
So, right. So I would rearrange the sentence. Like we were talking about the promotion and we were saying, I'd like to promote you, but whatever these things are. I would not say I want to promote you, but I would say you're doing a wonderful job. Let's focus on these areas. And once you focus and leave the sentence alone, but it's clear that, as we focus on these areas, because when you list them, the person hearing you is going to know these are things that I need to improve on. So it's like
And
implicit in
chances
the
are, in most
sentence.
cases, they already know this about
And
themselves.
that's true too. Like I'm kind of thinking that but is sort of lazy. Like it
Yeah, it's the
kind of is
lazy
meant to
way
like
out. That's
take
exactly what I
away
think.
your responsibility, which is a huge pet peeve of mine. It's like easier. Like I don't want to upset you, but like then don't upset me.
Well,
Like just
because
don't even say
Ilana,
anything.
what you're picking up on, is again that duplicity. Like someone can tell that you're trying to either sugarcoat something or lie to
Yeah,
them or sort of bullshit them, and that
Right.
is offensive in and of itself. Like that they're not going to
exactly.
notice. Like, oh,
Yes,
it's almost like the red
absolutely.
cape with the bull. Like you're not going to notice the sword I'm going to lance through your
Yeah.
forehead because I've said but.
And we're trained, and Renee, you're trained in this too. We're trained to go after that
Yes,
immediately. And
immediately.
so when people are saying all these different things, like Em was saying, I know you're covering something up, you're hiding something, there's some lie you're telling me, there's some
Right.
misdirection that
Or
you're
like
trying to point me
you've
in.
already demonstrated
Mhm.
the ability to tell a half truth. Because
Yeah,
what you
you've
just said
already
before
been
that
a
but,
liar.
Right.
Yes.
you've already said it. And not
And
in
then
all cases, not
in
every
the
time somebody says it.
background, when you're trained to kind of be like a human lie detector because you read your clients, and especially, I mean, it's true in other kinds of law, fields of law also, but in criminal law, it's really important because I I need to know how you're going to appear in front of the jury, the judge. I mean, when when I if I go to court, I have options. I can have a bench trial, which means it's just in front of a judge. I can have a jury, which would be 12 members and two alternates of the community. I have all these choices. So I'm meant to go in there, see what you're like, and everybody's like, shh, don't tell anybody. Like everybody already knows because it's public, so I'm just trying to
Right.
figure out how to put you in the best light. So yeah, it's very frustrating, I would say, if I'm trying to figure stuff like that out, and you're using these I mean, I would probably have a bench trial because I would think, I don't trust you. 12 to 14 people aren't going to trust you. At least the judge is
Yeah,
paying attention to only the law and doesn't have to trust your opinion.
right. Going off what you said, talking about I when you said trained and stuff, I was thinking of when we do our training for like sexual assault victims and
Mm,
response and domestic abuse. Um, so those are red flags for us.
that's very true too.
So that's another reason why all three of us
Mm,
immediately are like, heard the but.
Right.
There it is, right? Red flags.
Yeah,
So,
training is a big deal because you can fall back. They always say in the military too, you do these drills, you do training, and you go outside of yourself, and you're not just being reactive. You know what you're doing. You are on a roadmap, and that's one of the things that's really important. And also just learning how to do linear thinking. But I was thinking, Elana, when you were talking too, I was thinking about the Jodi Arias trial, whose court-appointed defense attorney infamously said in open court that he did not like his client. And I think he thought that that was going to somehow make him look more honest. Like, yeah, my client's a
Yeah.
total bitch, but she just doesn't deserve this. And it really hurt that dynamic for her.
Right. I personally, I always, I never would try to get people to like my client. I would get people to try to like me. And the reason why I would do that, well, A, is I'm not a wild card to myself. So I know how I'm going to
right.
appear. But unless my client just really is, you see my client and they're going to be immediately thought of as guilty, it's always easier. And especially because I was a public defender, when you're a public defender, you're giving people a voice. You're letting people share your voice who don't normally have a voice. And so a privileged Jewish girl from the right area of Pittsburgh, it's just I'm going to have an easier time getting people to like me than I am my client. So that also is something that if you're telling me but statements and convoluting everything, I
Ah,
also
that's a
can't
great word,
get right
convoluting.
there.
That's a great word to describe what happens. When you
Yeah.
use but, you're convoluting the whole conversation at that point. Like, whatever
Hmm.
the purpose of the sentence they're trying to say, whatever facts or information or emotion, whatever they're trying
Right.
to convey to you has now been turned from black and white to gray, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
just
It makes
convoluted,
my job harder. It
diluted,
makes
whatever
you
word you
look,
want. There's so many words.
it makes my client look like they can't be trusted. If I put them on the stand now, we're all in big trouble. Um, so yeah, I think I have general mistrust
Hi, Kelly. Thank you
of
for
those types
watching.
of sentences.
She's leaving. Kelly's leaving.
Oh, okay. Hi, Kelly.
Um, Kelly did say, I wanted to point out, she said, we need to be more accepting of constructive criticism too. It's not a personal attack, but
Yeah.
that goes with what we were saying about being a boss and needing to tell somebody something. In any case, needing to tell somebody is we, every one of us said the same thing. We're going to give positive affirmations and let them know how good they are. We are not going to use but. We are not going to give an excuse for why we're not. I don't need to give an excuse for why I'm not making you a boss. You don't fit the criteria right now.
Hmm.
Right? Like, and I'm not being cold or bitchy. I'm just saying, here's the criteria.
It's
Here's what you do.
reality.
I'm not going to say that to the person, but it's also, I'm not going to apologize. I'm not doing anything wrong, but I am going to talk to them with all their positives and what they need to work on. You're going to give them the tools they need. You're not just going to throw them to the wolves. And if you're
Right.
not willing to give them the tools that they need, then at that point, a decision needs to be made by that person. And you need to let them know that. Like, I don't know if you're ever going to be able to be promoted, right?
And
Be
that's why I
honest.
would rework the sentence
Right.
because it's just not necessary. However, we did discuss that sometimes when you're starting out in a certain field, you need to feel out what's happening. So that might be
Yes.
something necessary. But can you imagine being a boss and you go to fire someone and you're like, you're the best and this breaks my heart, but like nobody cares.
Nobody wants to hear that.
Focus on the person that you are giving the bad news to. Like I
Right.
really know your audience, I think
And
is probably
again,
the most important.
if they're doing great, but there's areas they're not, and you need to fire them. Obviously, if it's somebody who has made a blatant conduct issue or, is just a total jerk, whatever the situation is, then you're just going to be like, sorry, we're letting you, not even sorry. I don't even say sorry. I'm just like,
We have to let you go.
we're letting you go. Your check's in the office, right? If there, I don't even need a conversation. I don't want to discuss it. You know what you did.
Yeah,
And if you
it's
don't,
like,
that's on you,
I'm
not me. I'm not
sorry.
wasting my time.
I'm sorry. This might seem cold, but
But
like
yeah, no,
nobody cares. Just
no.
say
Nobody cares.
directly.
No, and
Like,
if it's somebody you generally like and they did do a good job, but they're not capable of doing the work they need to, and you don't have another place to put them, and you
mhm,
can't carry them, right? And you've given them tools, it's just not working. Like there are people that are just, it's like doing shows. There are people who think
mhm,
they want to do a show, but they're just not capable of doing all the work. Luckily, we're surrounded by all these creatives who are amazing at it, but there are
mhm.
people who can't. It's no different in any other career. There's people that could never be a lawyer. They could go, they could do everything. They just are not going to. They get in a courtroom and like, no. Or they
And
have to deal with
honestly,
something
there are a
legally.
ton of
No.
people who can only do transactional law.
Yeah,
I
very
had to
specific.
fight tooth and nail because I am a very skilled writer. And so when you go into criminal law and you're a very skilled writer, they typically try to put you in the appellate division because there's more writing and less on talking on the spot. So like for me personally, the briefs, the whatever I'd have to write to the court would be fairly short, to the point, and simple. If I were writing an appeal, it would be much longer. I would have to watch what I'm writing. But I didn't want to be in appeals. I was terrified of being a trial lawyer. So that's what I pushed for. So I think, you have to think about all of these things before you do them. I mean,
Right.
it's kind of
Yeah.
like prep work
And we
that
live and learn, right? Like, I mean, I did a million different things, so I
mhm.
still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to be Lily Mae and Linda Rose when I grow up. But
Right.
when you two
Right.
were talking,
Yeah.
it occurred to me too that the recipient of this news, their behavior and their personality matters too. There's two types of people.
Yes.
One type of person, when you tell them they can't do something, it motivates them. The other type of person, when you
Yeah.
tell them they can't do something, it eliminates them and defeats them. So I was thinking about Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld has this entire Jerry Seinfeld has this whole philosophy where every time he goes to see a junior comic, he tells the junior comic, no matter who they are, no matter how well they did, he says to them, "You'll never be a good comedian. You should give it up." And he says that's because him, as Jerry Seinfeld, telling them that is going to do one of two things. It's going to eliminate the type who doesn't have that fight
Mhm.
to go forward, regardless of what Jerry Seinfeld thinks. And then it's going to motivate the ones, I don't agree. I mean, I would never do that. But for him, that was his philosophy about being a stand up comic.
I don't know. There's some, okay, so working in the fire department, what is the first thing we do? We train somebody, we
Mhm.
give them the tools, right? But we're also going to put them in the fire,
Mhm.
right? Sink or swim. Because I need to depend on you for my damn life.
Yes.
Like there's no rewind in that situation. So I think, yeah, I agree. I don't know if I would word it that way, but again, this is a public. I mean, what do we do? Even on Cosmos, we give them a show, we help them, we back them, we give them everything that you can give them for support. But at the same time, it's like sink or swim, right? Like some people step up and do it, and some people are like,
Mhm.
you know what? I kind of would rather, like even Alana and I, we can't commit to a specific
Mhm.
And David, too.
thing
David
all
said
the
he
time.
doesn't want to
Yeah.
commit as well. Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
know our limitations and we admit it. Whereas other people are going to be like, yeah, no, like Jerry's saying. They're just
Right.
going to be like,
Exactly.
I don't feel like dealing
Yeah.
with that. So I'm
So
not going
true.
to.
It's like there's different types of people. And when you're talking to people, you don't know
And there's
exactly
nothing wrong
who.
with that. If that's who they
Yeah.
are, then
One of the
that's who they are.
reasons why I wanted to be specifically a trial lawyer because I was scared of thinking on my feet and doing those things is because to me, there are certain skills you can only get by the sink or swim method. And once, so like now I can just channel what I'm talking. I could talk for hours. I could not, I mean, I could giggle and chat with my friends for hours, but I couldn't speak professionally for hours. And that's what, like being handed a stack of files and going into court, sink or swim, did for me. And I knew that that was what I was trying to accomplish. So I think it's,
Sink
Yeah,
or
I
swim.
know that
yeah,
a
I
lot of
really feel like you have to
There is some
rework
merit
those
in there. Yeah.
sentences. I
Yeah.
yeah.
really,
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
let's leave people with the right things to do. So like for example, if you want to tell something that you feel is going to upset them, what's the best way to impart that knowledge?
I guess it depends first on the thing.
it
So,
depends
like,
on who the person is
and the
too.
person. But if I'm going to tell somebody that I have to let them go, and it's somebody that I respect and I care about, but they just cannot do the position that I have them in and I can't carry them, I'm going to be very honest
Mhm.
and I'm going to tell them the positives, and I'm also going to leave them at the end of the conversation with, I'm going to give you a reference for all of the things that I know you can do. I'm not going to say I'm going to give them a reference for the things they couldn't do,
Sure.
obviously. I'm going to be honest, but I'm going to also say, if you ever in the future gain these tools, because let's face it, you're only going to get rid of them if you offered them solutions and they didn't do it or they couldn't do it. In my how I feel about it, because that's how I operate as a leader, right? I'm going to give them the tools, tell them what I need. If they can't do it or they won't do it, there are situations where you have to let somebody go. I've walked into
Some
boardrooms of people and been like, you need to get rid of your CFO, and the guy's standing right there. You know what I mean? Like,
sometimes though,
I'm going to do it.
sometimes like somebody would be, let's say, laid off, or like the last legal job I did, I already knew
Totally
I was very
situational.
sick, so I did contract work, and my contract job ended up being huge, and I couldn't get out of it until it was over, so I was, like, working, I was so, so sick, but, um, we discussed it, and we talked about what was going on and the fact that I needed to be laid off. And I know that that is a very rare, that the person wants to be laid off. But I know that when I talked to my supervisor about it was about me. It was about why I needed this to happen, what my situation was. Like, if I need to get laid off, or fired, or what, I don't want to hear a sob story about how you have 20 people to fire
Yeah,
and,
me
oh, it's
neither.
so hard for you and I should feel bad for you. Like,
No.
you put it in the other person, and you
No, and
tell them
I actually had the
directly.
opposite situation happen to me where I was being given so much work that was not my work. It was my supervisor's work. And it kept getting piled on and kept getting piled on and kept getting piled on until one day I realized she can't do this.
Yeah.
I'm carrying her, right? And so I said, I'm done. It's not in my job. It's not in my job description. Like, I'm not doing it.
Hmm.
And so she wanted to fire me. But her wording when she called me into the office, because she was petrified, because she should not have been in that position. And
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a mean way. She just didn't have the skills, right? So she's like, I have to tell you something. I don't know if I want to tell you. Like, it was this long, drawn, and finally I was like, how about can we bring in the department manager? Right? Like, I want
Yeah.
Jeff to come down here from upstairs to the emergency room. We need to have a conversation.
This
Like,
is
because
why
I
we have a
can't even sit
mediation
in that
team.
room. Yeah, because I can't even sit in that room and listen to this person who I know is about to try. And I didn't get fired. I got her
Mhm.
job. That's the
Which is the
difference,
way it should have gone.
right? So you have to be
And
assertive in
absolutely. Like,
certain
that's
positions.
why I wanted Cosmos to have a mediation team, is because that is a team that's dedicated to making sure that you feel you're being heard. It's about you, it's about the issue at hand. And it's not about, oh, life is so hard for me because I like the person that is not getting their next paycheck, they don't care that you're sitting in your fancy office and you're getting paychecks and this is like a difficult thing for you to do. So
No, they're already thinking about their family, their life, their career, I mean, they're already 10 miles ahead of you, and you're
the
telling
only
them
but I want to
blah, blah, blah.
hear is, but we're not going to fight you on unemployment. Like,
Yeah.
that's the
But
only
we're
but I
gonna give
want
you
to
some
hear.
severance pay.
Right. I But severance, but we're not gonna fight you. Like, when I left, they're like, you go get your unemployment
Right?
because we kept
Or
you
like
here longer than we should have, you know? So
in the
that's the only but I
situation
want.
in the situation that I was in, I had nothing to lose. I
Hmm.
knew I had nothing to lose at that point. And even if I had, I have the personally that would have still had to say what I needed to say.
Yeah.
However, if you don't, you still think about take a moment, and you have to take a moment and decide what, not necessarily who you are. Listen, emotions get us. We all live and learn. We weren't born this way. We weren't all born assertive and direct, right? The
No,
three of us, you
I
learn
think
it, you
you have
acquire it,
well,
you fight
even
it,
if you are born that way, you have to learn how to do it
right?
appropriately and how to do it in a way that makes people respect you. I mean, for lawyers, your reputation is everything. So everything you do, you always have to be thinking, what is this? Am I doing this in a way that I feel comfortable with, that I would go to bat for, that, I can wake up tomorrow morning and feel good about how I handled the situation? Renee,
Integrity.
I want to ask you the same question.
Okay. I'm here.
How would you handle it?
Yeah, how
Yeah.
would you
Well,
handle it?
the way I've handled it different, I usually tailor it to the person depending on what their needs are, how
Situation.
well I know them. If I don't know them and I'm coming in totally clean, I use the sandwich style, which sounds very similar to what both of you were saying,
Yeah.
where you only tell the truth. You also admit some of the bad news somewhere in the middle, but you leave them on steady ground. And when we're talking about roles, particularly, one thing that I've learned that I do try to impart to people is it's not necessarily a hierarchy where something's getting taken away from them. It's about the proper fit. So it could be to
That's good.
reroute that energy into something that actually they would be better at and feel more fulfilled with, anyways. So we're all winners. In other words, they're not a loser in
Mhm.
this situation. It's like, oh, you know, you're
Yeah.
not a great paralegal. You know why? Because you might want to go to law school. You think like an attorney.
Exactly.
Right?
And a
Yeah.
but sentence doesn't help that. Like, a but
Right.
sentence makes it more disturbing, upsetting, hard to hear. But if
Right.
you tell somebody, I was an editor at LexisNexis, which is legal publishing, and everybody already thought I was a lawyer. So I was like, I should just go to law school because I'm doing a lawyer's job of
Right.
getting paid for an editor's position. So, when I said I was going to law school, my boss was like, I knew this was coming, but he's like, he would never fire me because I was excelling. But at the same time, he was like, it's only a matter of time before she leaves.
Right.
And
Exactly.
you also, if unless somebody was just totally inappropriate, and you can't, if you're going to write a reference for somebody,
Yeah.
I would leave them in a powered position so that they can
Yeah.
then take that, kind of like what you were saying about Jerry Seinfeld, but maybe nicer, nicer and gentler. So they can take that and they can actually go somewhere or pursue something and feel like they are striving to do something better than what they left.
Right.
Right,
Yeah,
because
you leave
everybody's
them
gonna be
feeling
better
good.
at something. Like, when I
Mhm.
worked with paralegals, there was no way I could have done their job.
Oh my God, no.
I would not have been a good paralegal. I
No,
always had
I would
great
be a
respect
terrible
for them.
paralegal.
Yeah, they actually are this, like, amazing lifeblood behind a
Oh
law
yeah.
firm, and they do all kinds of shit that I literally wouldn't be able to do. So, like, I had that respect, and that's why I'm saying it's
They go
about,
to
like, a
school, like, they go to
yeah, they have like
paralegal
their own
school.
thing.
Mhm.
Yes. So I respect every role. And so sometimes it's not about improper news or bad news or saying this person failed. It's almost like, this would be so much better for you. I could see you in this role and you would excel at it. You would love it. You would be a
Yeah.
leader in that field. And because I've never met anyone yet, I'll tell you this, not even criminal prisoners, right, Ilana? I've never met
Yeah.
anyone who had nothing that they were good at. Everybody
Oh,
has
yeah.
something that they
Oh
are
yeah,
better at than like
absolutely.
I'm going to be.
Even if they don't recognize it,
Mhm.
sometimes you
Right.
recognize it first, right? In somebody
Right.
else.
And you learn a lot, like, I've learned a lot from my clients over the years. They I've learned maybe sometimes, like, I when you're a woman and you are a criminal attorney, I think women try to play the emotional card sometimes, because I have walked into conversations with a female client and they're just crying. And I'll just look at them and be like, are you done? Like, I'm not gonna be like, I don't want to be a bitch. I don't want to upset you. Are you done crying? Like, it's just, are you done crying? Because this is not
Yep.
productive. This is not helpful. This is not where we're going. There's something that there's a truth here and we need to get to it. And there's something that I can learn from everybody. I mean, oh my God, I had one client who I want to be like, if she opens a school, which she's not going to, but if like, I love this woman. Like, like, she's a powerful businesswoman. It just so happens that her business is street work. So it's illegal. So she happened to be my client. I learned more from her than I think I've learned from, like, many of my law professors. So I guess that's the other thing. Like, you should go into a situation, I guess, trying to feel out what's happening. Um, because every situation is you know, an educational tool in a way too.
I think one thing too we haven't really hit on a whole lot is that with us in general, hold on a second. One thing that we, sorry,
It's
one
fine.
thing we haven't talked about is the fact that we did say we learned a lot of our tools that we use, right? A lot of our assertiveness, our professionalism, our confidence, our directness, what have you. But we also challenge ourselves.
Mhm.
If I'm afraid of something, oh, you can bet your ass I'm going to dive in.
Yeah,
I'm diving in because I don't like fear. I
right.
don't,
So
it's not that I don't like, I just don't need it. And I feel like it's like a tool saying, do this so you're not afraid of it. That's different than keeping personal safety and things like that, obviously.
absolutely.
But if it's something that I can change, I'm changing it. Because who wants to live with fear? I don't want to live with fear. I don't got time for that, right? So I'm
Mhm.
diving in. If personal speaking is difficult for me, I'm going to do some personal speaking. If being live is a problem for me, I'm going to go live.
Right.
Singing's a problem for me. I'm gonna learn, you know what I mean? Like, I think the three of us, I don't think any of us are afraid of change, and I don't think we're afraid of if something's a challenge, it's we take it as a challenge, not an obstacle.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I think I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Um, so I think that that is an important thing because I think some people I I feel like some people look at people like us and they think, how come things are so easy for them when things are so much more difficult for me? And it's really important to remember that that it was not easy. It did not come naturally. We worked at it to accomplish it, which I guess after all of this is where I end up with but statements is work to change the sentence so that it's saying what you mean it to say, not so that the but gives you like a free pass.
Right.
Yes. And to just kind of expound off of what was saying as well about finding your weakness, and then it's almost like going to the gym and your trainer says, "You really haven't done your biceps in a while. Today we're going to focus on that because that's the weak part of you."
Yeah.
So that you can be totally healthy and totally fit. It's like identify the thing, I would say, in the context of this topic, identify your butt and then go after it and change it into an and. So whatever someone, this fictional person could say to you, like, well, Renee, you're really nice, but you're, I don't know, you're not punctual. Well, I could change that by going into myself and saying I'm going to be very punctual so that I can be nice and punctual.
Hmm.
So it's
Right.
about that alchemy of changing whatever someone, like internalizing it that way. We've been talking about how to talk to other people, but then also whatever somebody has said to you that carries that butt with it, how can you alchemize that and turn it into an and, where you're chasing after the very things, like my brother became a physician, but he was always the patient who would pass out when they took his blood. And he just got, he just got over it.
That's
Did it.
funny because that's that like people always say that you go to law school because you're too squeamish to go to med school. And
Yeah.
that was so me
Yes. There's a
until
lot
I
of
just
lawyers
got
like that.
sick
Yes.
like this. Like I'm so much better because I've had to, but I have a blood test on Tuesday and I am so anxious and freaking out, even though, like, over the past decade, I've probably had, I don't know, thousands of blood tests. So, yeah,
It
it's,
is what it is. We can't, again, our brains say what our brains want to say. We can be rational about it and know. We can even know. We can say it to ourselves. I have this irrational fear of bridges, like the big green bridges, suspension
oh
bridges,
no.
because when I'm heading towards them, my brain says to me every time my stomach hits the floor, because in my brain, I feel like I'm going to go over it instead of under it. Now, I'm not an idiot. I realize that is never going to happen. But it's just this weird, irrational fear that I've had my entire life. My entire life from when I was a child and I would get on the floor of the car because we didn't have seatbelts back then. Aging
Oh,
myself.
when you come visit me, we're going to have to figure something out
I mean, I
because
got them now.
we
I
have
have to go
so
under
many
them.
bridges here.
I have to go under them, right? Like, I
Yeah,
have to do it still. It doesn't hinder me in my life because, again, pisses me off. It doesn't, I
right.
don't like to have that fear. I want to get rid of it, right? But I still, all these years later. So there are parts of us that are irrational. Even if we can sit and have a conversation with ourselves and be rational and say, that is so ridiculous. It
Mhm.
doesn't change the fact of how that happens, like that, like you with needles. You have to do it and you don't want to, and it sucks, and you're going to survive it, but it sucks every time, right?
Yeah. And sometimes also, like, I just became aware that there is like an OCD anxiety thing about people who need lots of drinks. Like I always have to have at least 3 drinks or I start like I feel like something really is wrong. Like there's doom. And it's really messed with me until one of my friends who is I believe she's getting her PhD in psychology, she actually said that she has to always have at least 3 different drinks too. And it's like, okay, well, I'm glad I know because now I know that like the world's not coming to an end. I just have to have 3 drinks. But is it worth changing? No. So sometimes things are just not worth changing. I'm just going to make sure I have 3
Yeah.
drinks.
It's like the bridge. What am I gonna do? I mean,
But
I'm in.
knowing makes a big difference. And so I
Yes.
guess with a but statement, having the awareness that if you use that word, but having the awareness that you're using it in such a way or a way that might not, I mean, I know like whenever I contact the two of you and I'm too sick to do something, I know that I'm like, I'm so sorry, God. I turn into like this other person and I'm not this strong, confident woman because I'm like so frustrated that I have these limitations that I have to incorporate now into my life and I have to learn how to do them. Um, so I think even at, you know, almost 50, there are going to be certain things that you're not going to be that confident with.
Yeah.
But if people see that normally you handle things in a certain manner, it's okay. Like you can't be perfect. You can't have figured everything
Absolutely.
out ever.
Absolutely. And it's not like we don't. So everybody comes with their own Pandora box, right? Like all of us. We all have the box. It's full of our past. It's full of our privilege. It's full of our trauma. It's full of our mother's trauma, our father's trauma. You know what I mean? Like it's full of junk, right? Nobody wants to open it, but we open it,
Mhm.
right? We own it. We get rid of what we can, we deal with what we can, and we own it. And there are some things you just can't, like I was saying about medical stuff, or um, there's certain things that trigger me. Most of it's medical, but some of it is emotional, where there's, my, it doesn't matter the tools I've learned. It doesn't matter. I'm there now. So I need to let myself be there and then
Mm.
I'll work myself through the tools and I'll get myself back where I was. However, don't get stuck in your box, right? Don't get stuck in your box
Right.
and help other people get out of there. Don't let it drag you down. Let it lift you up, right? Like I stand on my box. It's
So
my soapbox
David
now.
David just said something that Renee you had posted about that I think is very interesting. I need to work on the word interesting and important. I am using those two words an enormous amount. He said, I believe there's a certain strength in being able to show that you're a human with flaws and limitations. And I know
Absolutely.
that Renee, you just posted something about that too. And Em and I talk about this a lot. And I think the three of us actually have talked about this a lot too. That if
Look
you
at my
don't know,
TikTok
say,
yesterday. That was like a victory for me, right? Like I don't normally I have a blog. My whole life's out
Mhm,
there. Everything about me. But you do little things that are like, "Ah, I don't really want to do this, but you know what? I think it can make a
yeah,
difference." And the fact that Linda Rose called me right like within minutes of me
that was
posting that thing,
beautiful.
crying and telling me how awesome it was everything. Because I just set an example for her if she's ever in my situation. That's everything, right?
Absolutely. And if you are honest and open, like I don't like there is this I guess field of thought. I field's not the right word, but I can't think of the right word
Full
right
of
now.
thought. Full of thought.
School of
School of
thought.
thought.
Thank you. That if you don't know something, you just pretend that you do. But I think that by saying I don't actually know the answer to that, let me do some research or let me think about it and get back to you. I trust somebody way more when they
Yeah.
come to me with that.
So I
Yes.
think that has something to do with the word but. Like, I know we're getting to our 2 hour mark, but I think it comes down to, like you said, can you say and? Do you need all those words? Are you trying to comfort yourself or the other person? Is it coming as gaslighting? I cheated on you, but you don't love me enough,
Mhm.
whatever, right? Or the other thing is it being used to protect yourself in some way, right? Like, or you think you're protecting the other person, but you're not. Like,
Yeah.
I think it comes down to taking a moment and asking yourself, why do I need to say that? Like, why am I even feeling like I need to say that? Because
Intention, which is what
maybe,
I had brought up
yes,
earlier. Like,
intention.
I think, and this was a big thing last week too with confrontation. What is your intention? If your intention is, I mean, I don't want to be naive and idealistic, but I really believe this. If your intention is positive, I believe that you're going to find a way to make that come across. And you don't need to say, I don't want to hurt you, I don't want to upset you, but you can just make a statement that incorporates, I don't want to hurt you. You know, that part
Right.
is going to come across in what you're saying.
Yeah. I think we I think we've about covered the word but,
I
everybody.
think we're all over the butt. We were all over that butt
We
today.
were all over it
Yay!
today.
I
That
was
was
a
an
little
excellent
worried about
show.
this. I was a little worried about this actually because it's so much to wrap your head around and it can be used in so many different ways. And because, of course, we did confrontation last week, which is like, I know my, I know
Yeah.
all my stuff about, all three of us are like, let me at it. So this one, I mean, I think that that's really about this show itself is, and maybe why I call it a workshop show, we're learning so much as we go through
Absolutely.
this. We're learning from all of your comments, which we appreciate so much.
Love you,
Thank you
Cynthia.
so much for being here, Renee, and for joining us.
Woohoo!
Um, and
It's
I,
a seminar. These are seminars. It's like
Yes.
crime night are little documentaries, and then these are
these are seminars.
seminars. I feel like
I
they're
can't I
Congrats.
can't do anything that's
It's
not
our
like
TED
academic.
Talks.
I'm so like wrapped up in academia and I've
it's
always
a
wanted to
seminar.
be a professor and it just I couldn't because of the economy. So I'm like I'm going to do all the things I wanted to do that I couldn't do before, now cuz I'm too sick to work. So now I'm like I got to do all of these things and I love it. It's great. I love picking apart these words. Cynthia, we love you. Thank you
Yes.
so much for your wonderful comments. Somebody
Yes, reach
also
out to us. Reach out to us, Cynthia.
somebody also was saying something about criticism and how important constructive
Kelly.
criticism is.
Kelly.
That I wish I would have said she's not here, right? So I wish
No,
I would have
she's
said
here.
something earlier because I really
That's a good thing, though. Constructive criticism is another
absolutely
phrase that is not taken the same by everybody, right? Like, some people don't
she
want your constructive
Kelly's
criticism.
not
They're like,
here anymore, right?
no, I believe she
I
said goodbye.
I
DM her.
really am glad that she said that. Yeah, I'm really glad that she said that because that's going on our list.
Yep, put it on the list. So, yes, our list. So, we have a list of potential guests of people who have said they would like to come on and join us. And we have a list of words and phrases that people would like to see us address, or we have chosen that we want to address at some point. We
Mhm.
want to put the link in the description, which I always forget, but I will
We're
try
working
my
on it.
hardest to remember next time. I just said but. Um, So anytime anybody wants to come on, let us know. The
And
goal is to
Renee,
be
you
interactive.
know you're
Yeah,
always welcome.
Woohoo!
always,
Anytime I
always,
We
can,
love you.
I have so much fun. You have
always.
no
Um,
idea.
keep your eyes, just DM us always. Just reach out to us if you had something you didn't want to say in the public chat, but you'd like to address, or you thought we said something that hit home. DM us. We will do anything we can to help with resources or anything, or talk to you. We'll be happy to do
You know
that.
what else we have? We have access to Discord. And through
Yes.
Discord, if David is still here, David is a Discord whiz, and so is M. And we have had video chats, and they are incredible in Discord. You can
We need to
operate
do a
each.
movie night. We should do a movie night this weekend.
Definitely. We you can operate like the volume for each individual person. So I didn't like for crime night we have a you know talk afterwards. We're kind of doing this in here, which is why it's taking us like 2 hours.
All right.
So if anybody ever wants to just be like, I want a words chat, let us know
Yeah.
cuz
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And the other thing is, there's going to be another show coming up, pop up here soon on Cosmos, and it's another talk show, and it's going to be about kind of discussing our community and social issues. Renee, talking about the talk show.
Yeah,
ooh,
we're gonna be, and we might have some other show hosts popping on,
Yes.
some surprise guests, and it'll be
oh,
different
so
topics,
exciting.
and we're gonna go into some really interesting things like some medical concerns, some social justice concerns, and get everyone to weigh in, and see where people stand. We're not shying away from any topics.
No, we're gonna kind of try to take some and turn them around too. So that'll be interesting. We want to use some generations, like we've asked the girls. So yeah, there'll be lots of
Oh,
surprises.
wonderful.
And again, information will be coming, and we're still going back and forth on our working title, but I think we've got it now. But I don't want to say it and then change our
That's
mind. So
I
wonderful.
know.
I mean,
Alana
one
will
of the
definitely be involved, I'm sure.
most
Ilana is
exciting
always involved.
things.
Yes.
Thank you. I like you could just change my name to controversial. If it's controversial, I'm there. I just one of the best things for me personally about doing this online is that we don't have to we can do what we want to do and we don't have the restrictions and limitations that we would have if we were on a major network or I really want to take full advantage of that because you don't necessarily think that the show goes beyond this point, but it does because people replay watch and then they send it to their friends who replay watch. M and Renee and I believe David and I don't even know who else are making these incredible TikTok videos, just, promotional videos. And
That's what I was gonna say. Go to
it's
at
so
Cosmos
exciting.
on TikTok, and also at Orchid Times Shows on TikTok, I believe. And check out some of the content that we've got up there. We've got a lot of clips. So if you're somebody who doesn't have like a long attention span or you don't have a lot of time, you can just scroll through on the Cosmos TikTok.
Sandy said she can't wait for the talk show.
Oh yeah,
I'm
definitely.
excited too.
Yeah,
Talk
so I mean,
show.
it became about because of certain topics, but the big one that really lit the fire under us was I had said to Renee and I were having a conversation that stemmed from ish things that had happened before this. And last night, actually, Sandy's show actually really lit the fire even again in that the fine line between the patriarchy and misogyny, because we talk a lot about women's rights and feminism because we're women,
They
right? And we're
we
raising young
we
girls.
were burning our bras last night.
Right, right. We were burning our bras, but here's the thing, where's that line? Like when we had girls' night, we were like, "Oh, he's freaking hot," and we could say what we wanted to say. But then the men's night,
Yeah.
they were tiptoeing, and I kept saying that, like they didn't. And
They were talking about
I thought,
toys. Like I loved it, but
yes,
yeah, they did
but
have
at the same
limitations that
time,
we
like I
didn't.
don't, I don't want that to happen. So here's the conversations we're gonna have the conversations, right? Like I want to have that conversation. I want to talk about it. Why can't they
It's
say
great.
I'm attracted to this or I'm attracted to that? I don't have a problem with that. It's if you demean somebody, right? So this is gonna be great. I don't want to get into it because
Yeah,
we could
we're gonna go deep.
we'll
We're
get
gonna have the
started and we'll
audience
never
get
stop.
crazy. It's gonna
It's
be
very
very, very fun
exciting.
because it's no holds barred, you know?
Yeah, no holds barred. And again, if anybody is interested in a topic or coming on, or if you think you have a heated topic and you want to bring it. But just remember, we're bringing it. So be ready.
It's
Don't come on and have
I
if you
can't
have
wait.
your feelings.
And I just want to interject real quick that after we're done with this show, we're going to have a meeting and try to get Crime Night back on track. We had to go on a few hiatuses because of my health. So we're trying to rework it so that we can start bringing you, hopefully, once a month or so, Crime Night. I want to thank everybody so much for, I mean, the things that people are saying about words and about Crime Night. Like, I just love you all so much, and it means so much to me that you're as excited about these shows as I am. So we're gonna do everything in our power, health wise, to get them back on track. And check out all the other shows. Cosmos has an amazing array of shows at this
Oh,
point. I mean,
Wednesday nights, come play trivia. Trivia
oh,
with painting with Rory.
I love painting with Rory so
Orchid
much.
time. Oh, there's so many shows.
Yeah,
There are
I
so
can't even.
many
Wednesdays
I
great
are
don't want.
Wednesdays
shows.
are really lit because at 7 p.m. you tune in, you get Orchid Times, and they even have a news segment now. So if like you're not keeping up on global news, they will catch you up. It's amazing, and then they have incredible interviews. And then at 10:30, Painting with Rory, they do trivia. Rory paints a portrait or something.
Wonderful.
It doesn't. It's not always a portrait, but he always paints something, and you get to watch his process. And then there's banter and fun, and it gets really wild.
You have
Yeah.
intellectually you got belongs to the shadows, the warrior within, the pause button, BID. There's so much for everybody. Like I can't. I
So
don't even.
many
I'm
different
afraid I'm
kinds
gonna
of
miss somebody,
shows.
so I don't want to miss it. I don't want to say, but bitchin' in
Yeah.
Ruby's kitchen.
Yeah, the strength is in the
Oh, yeah.
diversity. And then tomorrow we have Jay's Jam Fest, which is going to be an all-day event,
Yes,
which is live music. And it's just it's like there's diversity. So we had Joanne, or she's not the only fan who has said this, but she said a few days ago, one of her comments was, I ditched the TV and I watch Cosmos. This is
I've
you
heard
you
that
don't have to
from
pay
a
your
lot
cable
of
bill, people.
people.
You do not
And
have to pay your cable bill.
it's so wonderful. So, like, one of the reasons why I did Crime Night in the way that I did was because I'm completely addicted to Discovery ID, but I can't stop screaming at the TV at certain
right.
points because
That's me.
they'll just like confess, or I'm like, that's not what happened, so it's almost like reworkings of some are like reworkings of shows that are on networks and have some limitations, and we don't have those, so
We
we
don't have the
can.
limitations, and it's like
Right.
reality TV, only it's real.
Right, and it's
Yes.
interactive.
No
So
script.
if you have an opinion, you could be in the show. I mean, you could
Right.
have a comment out
That's
there. You
great.
could have the host or the guest. You might be this huge fan of a host or a guest, and you can actually ask them a question. You can't do that
Yeah.
on CNN or something. So
And we're always open for show ideas. We're always
Yes.
open for guest ideas. We're always open for topics. Reach out to Cosmos, reach out to any of us.
So I think
Always.
we should wrap this
Yep,
up,
gotta go, got a
but
meeting.
thank you everybody
thank
so
you,
much,
everyone.
and hopefully we'll see you next Friday.
All right, guys, make sure you reach out. Thanks, girls. Love you.
Thank you.